You have reached 1-900 Chaos Connections. Thank you for your call. Please stay on the line as our podcast, brought to you by MOC Media, LLC, and the Moms of Chaos, Harley, Rain, and Raven, creating space for you to learn, thrive, and connect.
General quarters, all hands, man your battle stations. This podcast is hosted by people with tattoos, piercings, colorful language, no filters, and we are fiercely protective of the vulnerable among us. You know who you are. Make sure you want to be here, or you can fuck around and find out. Your choice entirely.
Content warning. This episode contains topics that some listeners may find uncomfortable. We are choosing to air it because we believe the subject matter to be important to all persons. Please be advised.
Hello, Chaos Connections podcast listeners. This is Harley. As you probably gathered from our intros that we've been having a little bit of fun playing around with, today's topic, it's going to be a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, no pun intended. We are going to be talking about dealing with our own mental health issues, and it's
Fuckery.
It's mental health fuckery. It really is, because if you don't take care of it, it
will fuck you.
It will fuck you over.
With no lube and no love.
No, not even a gentle caress.
I promise you, I can assure you that although we are going to, of course, include our normal touch of Moms of Chaos seasoning, this is a topic that we do take very seriously, and it is something that is near and dear to all of our hearts. To give you a little backstory so that you know that I am not talking out of my ass, and then my co-hosts will give you a little bit of their own stories. I do actually struggle with my own mental health issues. I deal with ADHD, depression, and anxiety. And, and it was quite alarming when my PCP, my primary care physician, was talking to me, and I knew about the ADHD. I know that I struggle with attention deficit, but it wasn't until my provider said, you need to come to terms with the fact that you're also dealing with depression and anxiety. And having a medical professional tell you that you're dealing with this just based off of what you're saying and explaining to them, it can disarm you quick, fast, and in a hurry. But it's important that you take that objective input, which is what the doctor is there for, to give you a medically backed objective stance on your condition, whatever it may be, and to help guide you in treatment. And so that's what I did. And you'll find that a lot of this episode is going to loop back into our self-care episode, because again, how can you pour from an empty cup if you're not taking care of yourself? If you yourself are not in a mentally sound place, how can you help others? So there's a little bit of my backstory. One of my two lovely co-hosts will jump in whenever they're ready and maybe give you a little bit of their backstory as well.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Lizard Spock?
Sure. Which one wants to go first?
Go ahead.
So, a little bit of my backstory is I have ADHD, and I have depression, and I have PTSD. I have some anxiety. It's not as bad as it used to be. My ADHD probably has always been there, and I just, and it just got worse as I got older. Depression really came to a head when I was postpartum. And postpartum depression is a bitch. And it wasn't like how some women's postpartum is. It literally, I felt like I was on autopilot. I wasn't like not connecting with Witchkin 2 because, dude, baby, mine. Nobody touch her. My baby. But it was, I lost myself in being a mom and missed some of the things that were happening around me. And it caused a big problem for me. And I don't think that my postpartum ever fully went away, because that is something that happens and most people don't talk about it. PTSD, I was not in the armed forces. I was not in any situation like that. But PTSD is not only for those who serve in one way, shape, form, or another. And any of the abuse or things along those lines we'll get into much, much later. They don't have to be physical. You can be mentally and emotionally tormented, and it leaves scars. And there are a lot of people walking around with PTSD, and they don't even fully know what it is that they're dealing with or why they have the reactions they have and or triggers. And then, anxiety. There's times that just big groups and people who don't know common fucking courtesy. And then I'm just like, I am peopled out. Get the fuck away from me. Don't talk to me. And so that's the fuckery that I deal with. I call it mental fuckery or mental bullshit. It all fits.
I like to call it a mental health shitstorm.
That sounds appropriate.
That's appropriate. But I, after with the postpartum, tried a couple different types of medications. They did not work. I felt like a zombie. And I don't know how many of you ever had to feel like a zombie while you're taking care of an infant? It doesn't work. Therefore, you don't take it. And yeah, so I was like, fuck it. I'll deal with it myself. I'll make sure that I'm doing XYZ. Fast forward a few years. I've tried talk therapy a couple different times. One thing about talk therapy, you're not always going to click with the therapist that you find. You do have to sometimes go through a couple of them. I 6 years ago, I guess, I found a therapist, and she has been my therapist ever since. And like, she left the platform that I was using, and I fucking tracked her down, because you find a therapist you click with, you stay with that fucking therapist, because you don't want to dive into all your bullshit again. You're like, I'm already making progress. I don't want to fucking deal with this.
Right. And it's important that when you are seeking really any type of medical help, like if a doctor doesn't have good bedside manner, you're probably not going to go back to them because you don't like the way that you're treated as a patient. Same thing, same thought process when it comes to mental health. If you're seeing a psychiatrist, like the way that they're making you feel, you don't typically go back to them. You'll typically seek out a new provider, and same with talk therapy. And it's important that you do mesh well with the person that's treating you, because if you're comfortable talking to that person, you're more forthcoming with the details that they ultimately need to effectively treat you.
So one thing that I've noticed, and I did this too, and I'm fairly certain my co-hosts have dealt with similar. I had a therapist. Didn't mesh with the therapist. And I'm just like, okay, then this shit's not for me. Not realizing in my early 20s brain, sometimes you have to go through people because you don't click with everybody. Like, don't get me wrong. We're a delight, and if you don't like us, then you're stupid.
We're fucking amazing.
But you have to find one that complements your personality, because the therapist that works for me wouldn't work for my co-hosts. Just not how they process and vibe in that type of situation. So that's a little backstory on my fuckery. And you're up, Miss Raven.
Yeah, so I come from a long line of not necessarily mentally stable people.
Dun, dun, dun.
I was a teenager when my parents got diagnosed with depression, and immediately upon them getting medication, life was better. And I, for some reason, never really connected the two in my head until it happened to me. And, I had postpartum with Apprentice 1, didn't realize it. He's old enough that Facebook wasn't really a thing at the time, so there wasn't a whole lot of like online support or information or anything. So I had no idea I was dealing with postpartum and not really bonding with him. I mean, kind of like Rain said, kind of zombified, going through the motions of taking care of a baby and going back to work. And, I was in the military at the time. And at that point in time, yes, the military had mental health experts, like physicians and stuff, but it wasn't like, it was almost frowned upon to go to mental health. Like it was an open secret that it could affect your career. So even when somebody pointed out that maybe I should talk to somebody, I didn't go because I didn't know how long I wanted to stay enlisted, but I wanted to keep my job while I had it. I didn't want to get forced out. So, and then along came Apprentice 2. And at that point, somebody else like some other mom I was friends with pointed out that I was exhibiting some of the symptoms of postpartum with Apprentice 2. And I was like, oh, well, shit, I'm actually about to get out of the military, so maybe I should go figure out what this shit is all about. And I have depression. It's not severe. It's not life crippling, thank God. And I feel like my heart goes out to people that have to deal with that, because I can't imagine. But getting on meds really helped for a while. But it's such a shit show trying to find the right med and the right dose to make you feel like you want to feel, instead of like a zombie or the shit isn't working or, unwanted side effects, that kind of shit. So I went through a few meds, a few doctors, blah, blah, blah. Finally got on something that made me feel like I was finally stable and got a handle on it. Spoiler alert, I didn't. But my family was a huge support, and my kids are both Gen Z, and this generation is amazing about talking about mental health and shit. And so it was them talking about their friends dealing with it that I was finally like, you know what, guys, let me just explain what's going on with me and why I might be acting blah, blah, blah sometimes. And they were both so damn supportive, and they're like, Mom, you need therapy. You really need therapy. Because like Rain said, traumatic events don't necessarily happen to just those that serve. It can happen to any of us for any number of reasons. It could be a traumatic childhood. It could be an abusive relationship. It could be any number of bullshit circumstances. And so, yeah, I started going to therapy, and wow, my first therapist, I didn't really know any better. So I kind of trauma dumped all over them in the first session, and they decided that we were probably not a good fit. So yeah, you have to go through therapists. You have to find one that you jive with and that understands your goals and can help give you the tools to meet them and coping skills. And, I'll be honest, when the pandemic started, I pretty much had my depression under control. I had all the tools that I needed. And then all of a sudden, Me and Dar and the kids are trapped in this house for a year, with me and Dar working remote and sharing an office and trying to manage the kids during their virtual school. And so Dar and I delved into some really unhealthy coping mechanisms that I don't recommend. And one of them is socially acceptable, which is a little crazy to me. But thanks to Rain and Harley watching me and going and making, comments every now and then about that particular coping mechanism, I was able to realize what I was doing and pull it back. So now I think I've got it to a healthy level. Therapy is helping me to be able to process some things a lot better. I did end up bonding with Apprentice One. I did not let him go his entire childhood with thinking that, his mother didn't know him or like him. And I think I've done fairly well. He comes back and visits and gives me hugs every time, which is really weird because he's not much of a hugger. So it's kind of nice. But yes, taking care of your mental health is really important. And I really love Carrie Fisher so much for this. God bless General Organa for trying to normalize us talking about this stuff and going through the steps that help to get us better to where we want to be, the kind of people that we want to be. I think the more we talk about it, the better. The more people we can help, the more, I don't know, just like better.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a backstory for myself, Rain, and Raven. Just again, we're not telling these stories or sharing this information with you to get sympathy. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is we're trying to let you understand that what we're bringing into this particular topic on this episode, it is coming from what our
Living it.
firsthand experiences are. And
Dealing with it.
We've talked about the importance of having a tribe and having, at the very least having one good friend, but two is even better, that you can get together with, because it's good to have somebody who can call you on your bullshit. So
Yeah.
for myself, after my doctor had that hard conversation with me, I did seek out a psychiatrist, and I got on proper medication to handle what I was struggling with, my depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And quite frankly, I was like, cool, I'm medicated. I'm good. I'm golden. No, I wasn't. I did not have healthy coping skills. I still would suffer panic attacks. And on more than one occasion, Rain had to be on the other end of the phone while I was doing that. And even now, still going into treatment and taking my treatment beyond just medication. I just recently had a really significant panic attack, probably one of the worst ones that I've had, and as far back as I can remember. So it is an ongoing struggle. It's an ongoing process. It's a lifelong situation that you're dealing with when it comes to mental health. But the reason I brought up the tribe is through a long, convoluted story, I wound up living with Rain temporarily. And there was a lot of upheaval in my life at the moment. And I went over and I just slept. I shut down and I slept. And I want to say I slept for at least one full day before Captain pulled Rain aside and was like, is she okay? Does she need to go see somebody. Like, he was concerned because he had never seen me in that state where I shut down. And Rain, in her loving, motherly way, told me, and I'm not being a smartass. I know that sounds like a smartass comment, but I'm not. She pointed out.
No, the third time I had to say something, that was when it was a smartass comment.
But Rain pointed out that, yeah, I'm medicated, but I'm not coping with what's going on in my life. I wasn't coping with what was going on at the time. I hadn't addressed previous traumas that I had gone through. It was all just piling up. And it was just simmering. And the reason that I would go into this shutdown comatose mode is it would eventually all just bubble over, and that was my escape. I would just sleep. And at Rain's urging, I was like, okay, clearly the medication alone isn't working, and my doctor's already told me that I should talk to somebody. Fine, I'll go talk to somebody. And I again, I was staying with Rain, but my home base is a different city. It's 3 hours away. So I didn't want to establish in-person care in Rain City, and I couldn't establish in-person care in my city because it would be a ridiculous commute to go to a 1-hour appointment. So I found the website talkiatry.com.
No affiliation.
No affiliation, no sponsorship, nothing like that. But they provide psychiatric care and talk therapy. And that is how I found my therapist. And I lucked out. I found a therapist first try who it was a gradual getting to know you process. It wasn't like we instantly clicked, but staying consistent and persistent with it and implementing the tools that she was giving did help me. And you may have heard me mention in the previous episode or two, in the self-care episode, I think that was 2 episodes ago now, that I had started journaling these negative thoughts and writing out the counter arguments, basically trying to retrain my thought process, because that's part of depression and anxiety is your mind just cycles through this negative thought, and that's it. It just stays there. And it got to the point where it really did feel like by writing out the negative thought, it was almost like speaking it into existence or giving life to it, because now it's no longer just in my mind, it's written, it's in physical form. So I took the tool of basically having that counter argument and I internalized it. And that's a tool that has helped me tremendously, but I still, in addition to seeking out professional help with my psychiatrist and my therapist, I do also reach out to my tribe. I reach out to Rain and Raven when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm feeling stressed. And there are times that I don't even realize how overwhelmed and stressed I am until I'm talking to them and I break down in tears and they're like, okay, honey, maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to step away. But again, that just reiterates the importance of having that tribe, because when you're in the midst of it, I think Rain has said it more than once, you can't see the forest through the trees.
No, it's really hard to recognize when you're in the middle of it that you're in the middle of this firefight and it's coming at you from all sides and you just think you're happily trucking along. You know, I want to point out and I think this is really important. I've said this to a number of people in my life, but handling your mental health is no different than getting diagnosed with diabetes or, a lung problem. The doctor's going to prescribe medication, and the doctor's going to prescribe behavioral changes to help you manage this condition. You should treat your mental health the same way, because it is an organ that is not doing what it should. And so you need to engage in some behavior changes and possibly medication. And there's no shame in it. It's not like you just one day decided to have a mental breakdown. It's an organ in your body is not doing its job. It is okay to get help for that. And if you guys recognize in yourselves anything that we're talking about here today, we highly, highly encourage you to seek help for that. Talk to somebody you trust. Talk to a therapist.
Talk to somebody you trust. I mean, if you feel you don't have a tribe, that's why we started this. We wanted to start a community. We wanted to normalize these kind of conversations. They are not easy to have, and it's really hard to find somebody. And we all have traumas in our past that are similar. One of the ways that our mental health conversations have come about is we have a friend that we will call Odette. And in what she's dealing with is bringing up those traumas for all three of us.
It is extremely triggering.
It is. And Odette didn't have a tribe. Odette didn't have anybody that she could lean on.
Nobody. She's someone who, unfortunately, her biological family has failed her. But I have known her for over 20 years, and it's been back and forth in communication, but not really, because we weren't in the same place or anything like that. Well, she ended up in the city where Raven and I are. She does not understand and is blown away anytime that she is going through something and is in the thick of it, and she needs somebody for something that all she has to do is reach out. All she has to do is reach out, and one of us is able to go and help her or get on the phone and help her. And even Harley, we have a chat with Odette, and I love the title of it. I'm not going to give it away because obviously Odette is not her real name. But with all of this going on, I realized how much I had healed and everything else. And Harley realized there are traumas from her past that she hadn't dealt with. And you can think you're fine. You can think, I have this handled. I am fucking Superwoman. I'm Superman. Guess what, honey? Even Superman has a weakness. It doesn't go all hunky-dory. You can see people and you can think they have their life perfectly together and everything is fucking sunshine and rainbows and unicorns shitting rainbows. It's not perfect. Everybody has their own fight club and nobody fucking knows about it because it is so frowned upon to have this kind of conversation. And if you don't have anybody that you can call and be there for you, even if it's just to listen to you bitch because you're having a fucked up day, you need to find a circle. You need to find people that will listen, that will raise you up and not be friends with you to make themselves feel better, because those people don't fucking matter and they need to go
fuck off.
Take a long fucking walk off a short fucking pier, because I cannot stand those people. Why are you going to try to keep somebody down? How does that make you any better? It doesn't. I would rather be around people that, yeah, I'm having an off day, but you know what? Harley, Raven, They have something worth celebrating. So yeah, I could be upset that I'm having a bad day, but I'm still going to celebrate them. I'm still going to celebrate their victories. I'm still going to, you know, mourn their losses and cheer them on as they stumble so they get back up. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, well, I'm better than you are because I did this.
No,
If I
and
ever fucking do that, slap the shit out of me. Like,
Oh, I
seriously,
will slap
because
you in the tip.
I might like that.
not when I do it.
There we go. Harley
You
will
like to
flip
pin
your nipple with her damn fingernails.
she poor
She's
captain.
vicious.
Poor
So
captain.
so recently I y'all, honestly, like, you don't understand, this podcast is a form of self-care for me because it is a little bit of an escape, and it's also a nice way to vent about some stupid shit that, is maybe trivial, but sometimes it's nice to take the focus off the big shit that maybe you can't do anything about at that moment, and focus about and just bitch about some trivial shit and laugh it off with your friends, and that's okay. But Rain was telling me Rain was telling me something that happened with Witchkin 2. And I was talking about something more trivial and I said, I feel bad talking to you about this because this is something that you're struggling with right now. And she was like, well, if that's the case, then I feel bad about, celebrating this triumph with Witchkin 2 with what you have going on. And I was like, okay, it shut me up, which is a miracle. And
Never
I said,
happens.
Oh my
It
God.
never happens. I should have fucking recorded the time and framed it.
it legit, it shut me up. But it is nice when you are going through a tough time. Yes, it's nice to be able to vent and share your frustrations and just have friends just be there for you. They don't even have to do anything. Their presence alone, them being there to support you and help hold you up, is more than enough. But it's also nice that in the midst of you're dealing with your own struggles, it's nice to be able to take a break from what struggles you're going through to celebrate the triumphs that someone else is experiencing, because it's that little silver lining to the cloud, if you will.
Because even if your life is fucked up at the moment, something good is happening, and you get to be a part of it. And so just hold on to that little nugget.
Right. The world
What
is
is
not
at the what is at the bottom of Pandora's box? Hope.
That's true.
Holy shit, I think I know my next tattoo.
Are you getting Pandora's box?
Maybe.
It's okay. My next tattoo is going to be, I found this artist, I forget what fucking group it was on Facebook, but she was taking commissions. And she drew
Oh, are
a
you talking about
serotonin molecule. She drew a serotonin molecule for me. And it's not just a serotonin molecule. It has dead man's fingers and spider webs and like a couple other poisonous plants on there. And it's just fucking beautiful. And I cannot wait to get this tattooed on me, but I can't figure out where to put it.
I thought you were going to put it on your wrist with the one the branch that looks.
I don't know. Like, how much room do I have here?
You might need to share that image because we might get a Twinsy tattoo.
Actually, that would be a good chaos.
Yeah.
Mom's chaos tattoo.
And it's fucking beautiful. She did an amazing job, and I do not regret a single penny that I paid her for this commission.
So that kind of helps segue into the next part of this that we wanted to talk about, and that is coping skills. And again, you're going to find that a lot of our podcast topics, they intertwine like a little web. So some of these coping skills that we're going to share that we utilize, coping skills to take care of your mental health, feeds back into self-care.
Seriously.
You can't ignore
So
what's going on mentally if you actually want to take care of yourself. Because it's like if you ignore that part of you, if so I'm gonna use something my therapist told me a few years ago. Are you gonna be an ostrich or are you gonna be a buffalo? What's the difference? Ostrich, head in the ground. Avoidance is my friend. A buffalo? There's a storm. Guess what? I'm running towards that bitch. I'm gonna face it. Now, I still am partially I'm kind of in between. It depends on the situation. If I'm gonna be like, I'm ignoring this shit, I'll deal with it later. And then there's other times I'm like, can I be a ram instead of a buffalo and just go headbutt it? That would be fun. But I do like
so
playing in the
there
rain.
are times that Raven and I have had to call Rain out for playing the part of the ostrich when
I have no idea what they're
from
talking
the
about, I swear.
when we from the outside looking in can see that this is a situation that cannot healthily be ignored.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of having a tribe, is they're not just there for you in the bad and the good times. They're there to
No, they're there
support
to
you in
call
the
you on
bad
your
times.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Kick
And
your ass into better behavior. And like
exactly.
it's one thing to say I don't have the spoons for this right now, but I'll tackle it later. It's another entirely to be like, no, it's not happening. I don't see it.
Yeah. But like,
And she says that, but the thing of it is it applies to all of us. There's always going to be something that you don't want to face. There's always going to be something of, nope, my life is perfect. I don't believe a fucking word you're saying, and I choose to ignore you. And now I'm not going to talk to you because you're saying something I don't like. There are people like that you're going to come across. And you can't
are.
help anybody that doesn't want to be helped. And that's
No, you
something
can't.
that, as a caretaker, as has been described, as I've been described many, many times already on this podcast, is something it took me a while to learn. Witchkin 2 definitely is my daughter. She's a caretaker. But the joy of it is she's a caretaker and she's a protector. Which is really funny because she's a very small stature. So when she gets mad, it's
Oh my
kind
God, she's shorter than me.
of when she gets mad, it's kind of like a pissed off chihuahua. And I'm not
It is kind
wrong,
of.
but oh my God, she can hurt you with her savagery of her words. But
she cuts
She
deep.
cuts deep.
she goes for bone, man. She does. She does not pull punches.
No. Which I admire and hate.
You hate it because she goes after your closet.
See?
Yeah, so yeah, but coping skills, I don't know. Like,
What
honestly,
is your coping
sometimes it
skill?
has
What is your
mine.
what is okay? First, foremost, what is your negative coping skill that you still do?
I sleep. I have coma days. And yes, you heard that right. I have coma days.
She sleeps for over 36 hours. I don't know why 36 is my favorite number right now.
I will go MIA. Prime example, I went to sleep Friday night. I did not wake up until 11 a.m. Sunday morning. And these comatose days, they are not planned. They are not intended. They are not intentional. I do not sit back and go, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and sleep the next 36 hours away. It literally just happens. It's just me and my brain going, I need to shut down. I need to recoup. And my tribe, when I go MIA like that, they have an idea that it's a comatose day, but that does not stop them from reaching out to Joker and saying, hey, is Harley alive? Is she okay?
Yeah.
And that conversation did happen today. So
Yesterday.
So today is Sunday. Obviously, we're recording early, but We had the original plan was for her to actually come and visit for just a quick trip. And she was not in the mindset for it. I video called her and we were talking for a bit, and I was like, take your sleeping pill and go to sleep. You look rough. And normally when someone says that to you, you want to be offended.
Oh, yeah.
But
Excuse me? What?
But when it's somebody who knows you intrinsically, it's not the insult. It's okay, they're seeing something that I'm maybe trying to hide, or I'm thinking I'm somewhere else. It's like, go to sleep. So her going MIA, because we were planning on getting on a call and doing some stuff for Chaos Connections, and then these two late risers come 11 o'clock. I messaged Raven. Well, I messaged both of them because it's group chat. And Raven replies, we give it a little bit. Still no Harley. Okay, I'm going to try calling her. Messaging her. I think we went like 3 hours of like, okay, let's see if she responds. I'm like, okay. I'm going to give her a couple more minutes because I'm going to take care of something real quick, and then I'm calling Joker to make sure she's okay. And he answers, and I was like, is your wife alive? She's currently in a coma. Okay. Do you need her? I go, well, we were, Raven and I were gonna, we're waiting on her to do some stuff. Goes in there. I hear her mumble something. And he's like, yeah, she said she'll be up in a minute. Okay, cool. Thank you. I wanted to make sure she was alive. And then we're waiting. And we're waiting. And we wait some more. And then we're like, apparently we're not doing shit today. We'll try this again later. Put that in the chat. And then when she finally woke up, she's like, I am so sorry. I'm like, you needed to take care of you. There's no shame in that. You take care of you. We'll give you shit because that's our job. But we're not mad at you. We're not mad at you. Do not feel bad about taking care of what you need to take care of for you, because you can't, again, one of our favorite sayings, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
No. Mm-mm.
And but I want to say the thing that she thought she said while I was on the phone with Joker, but that wasn't what she said. And it's so Harley. It is fucking great. Those bitches said we were recording Sunday. They can fucking wait. I'm not wrong, and that is fucking Harley right there to a T.
Totally.
I know I said it. I just don't know at what point I said it. I'm fairly certain Joker was in the room, but I cannot guarantee this because I talk in my sleep.
She also sleeps where literally only her nose is uncovered. She blocks everything out, and she's in a cocoon. Like, she has her own blanket that Joker is not allowed to use. She cocoons herself and makes a nest. And what's funny is when she was living with me, Hex decided he was going to invade her nest, and it was quite humorous.
Yes, OG thoroughly enjoyed violating my nest space.
He is a dump truck. All right, so Rain, what is your unhealthy coping mechanism? Since you're going to call Harley out.
Oh, you're next.
Oh, I'm sure.
My unhealthy coping mechanism would be avoidance. Is honestly my unhealthiest coping mechanism I have. And then if I'm really wanting to avoid, I don't know how to just read a book and enjoy a chapter at a time. No, my ass binges that thing. So, like, this morning, say super early because I'm an early riser, I started reading a book. According to my Kindle, I am 77% through with the book. I had to get off to go help Odette with something, but...
And thank you for doing that.
Yeah. So, but I also needed to put my book down. And I got to a stopping point, and I'm like, I'm just going to read. No, I'm not going to read one more chapter because I say I'm going to read one more chapter. I'm going to finish this goddamn book before I get up. So I put my Kindle down, and I'm like, I'm walking away. I'm not even taking it with me. I'm walking away. But that is I escape, and I don't just escape for a little bit. It's not like I'm watching a show and I'm just going to finish this episode. No, I'm going to just finish this chapter equals I'm just going to finish this book, and I'm going to have a book hangover, and then I'm going to do it again and again and again and
So,
again.
Raven,
What's
what
yours?
is your
I
unhealthy coping mechanism?
have a couple. One of them I alluded to earlier, and that is alcohol. And I'm gonna be straight with y'all. Dar and I used to go through an awful lot of whiskey before Rain pointed out just how problematic we were being. And I hope she didn't think at the time that I was going to yell at her, because it was clearly coming from a place of love and concern. It was not coming from a place of judgment. And so up until a couple of months ago, like, I would have a bad day at work and, oh God, I just want to go home and pour a drink. Even if it was like a weekday, right? And I know what a shitty time I'm going to have waking up the next morning to go to work. But up until
FYI,
a
every
couple
day is
months
a
ago,
shitty time for her to get up to go to work. It just gets worse.
yeah, the alcohol makes it a lot worse. So, like, seriously, up until a couple months ago, that was my thought process. And I've been able to switch that into, like, okay, so this really shitty thing happened at work. I'm going to put on some music on the way home, and I'm going to sing at the top of my lungs, and I don't care if it sounds good, and maybe I'll be in a better mood when I get home. And that's been working quite a bit. And the other unhealthy coping mechanism is shopping. So I have, and some of this might go back to some childhood trauma, but I have a fairly large garage that I cannot pull my car into right now. And I have a beautiful craft room that I don't know what all craft supplies I have, because they're all over the place, because I'll be somewhere and be like, oh, this is pretty.
I want to do this with it. She has a plan when she buys it. I know,
Yes.
because I go to craft stores with her, which
And
our
then by the time
significant
I
others are
find
not
it, I'm
having.
like, what the fuck was I going to do with this again? And I'll have to call Rain, and she'll be like, I don't know. Or she'll be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Because she's got this weird ass memory. But no, there's a reason I call myself a Raven, because I like the shiny stuff. And sometimes diving into Amazon or Shine and just scrolling and hearting and blah, 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 I'm like, I really need to pull back the amount of shit that I'm bringing into my house that is not helping my depression or my family's mental health issues. And yeah, so it's not helping my wallet either. It's really cutting into my tattoo money.
Right?
Okay, both you bitches have gotten tattoos a hell of a lot more recently than I have, so I'm the broke bitch here, so I am perfectly fine if people want to gift me money so I could get a tattoo. I will not argue that at all.
So Rain will be setting up a Patreon soon, and if you would like to contribute to the gift Rain some stab therapy, I'm sure she would appreciate it.
Let me think though.
Is getting tattooed a healthy coping mechanism?
It depends.
I think, yeah, I think it depends. Go ahead, Rain.
So, okay, if you use tattoos and piercings as a coping skill for how you were using alcohol, I had a shitty day, I need some stab therapy. I want to go get my lip pierced. I want to go get this tattoo that I have a rule about tattoos, and this is just me. This looks cute. I'm going to, you pick it, I stick it type thing. And if you can name that movie, bonus points.
Love that movie. It had Flea in it.
Of course it had Flea in it. And bonus points if you know what band Flea is a part of, because we're old.
And if you don't, we're going to have to forcefully educate you.
Yes, we will. But I have a rule that any tattoos that I get or that my Witchkins get, they have to have a meaning, because just because you like something when you're 20 years old does not mean that it's going to still make sense to you when you're 60. Because I promise you, your grandkids, I don't have any. I'm just pointing this out. I don't have any yet. And I hopefully will not have any anytime soon. Just throwing that out there. Just, I don't want it in the universe. Your grandkids will come up to you and you're like, what's that? And if you have a reason behind it, then it's easier to say, yeah, no, cool. All of my tattoos, I don't have as many as my co-host, but I do have a decent number of them. And there's more I'm going to get. But they have to have meaning. And if you just do it just because you want the pain, because it'll give you something else to focus on, other than the mental turmoil, that's the negative. If it's because
that ventures into the realm of self-harm for the sake of doing something to draw focus away from what's bothering you.
So I usually get a tattoo when I've had it planned out. I've talked to the artist, there's a time and place, money saved, blah, blah, blah. And during the process, that pain that you feel, I let it sink into me and kind of pull out a lot of the negative bullshit that I've been feeling and dealing with. And I kind of feel the same way about the beach. I fucking grew up at the beach. It was fantastic. And that's still kind of, it's not an escape, but it's still kind of a place where I feel like I can recharge.
It's a reset.
All I need is the sound of the waves and the smell of the ocean and the breeze. And I feel like I can breathe again. I don't know. Yeah. It's weird.
And you feel like you can breathe again. And then there's a family that decides to set up literally right in front of where you're set up.
What the bastards.
We're gonna have to tell that story. All right, we're gonna have to tell the Moms of Chaos adventure trip in another episode.
What's your healthy?
But
we needed to go into healthy coping before we close out.
Real quick. So my healthy coping skill, when used in moderation, is a healthy coping skill. When used in excess, it can become an unhealthy coping skill. But I find ways to take a mental break because, like, for example, with my anxiety, I get super stressed about my job. Pretty much anything that's going on in my life, if I give myself the time to really marinate on it, it can trigger my anxiety. So what I do is I will take a mental break. Sometimes that will be watching some YouTube videos about random things. Sometimes that will be reading a good book, and maybe the entire book or maybe just part of the book. Sometimes it will be just listening to some music to zone out to basically, in essence, meditate to. But just having that mental break where I can just clear my mind and not have those recurring thoughts festering in my head. And sometimes what I also do is sometimes it's good when you have a problem to talk it out with somebody. Even if they don't give you input, you literally just talk through the problem and you walk through and you come up with a solution yourself. It's still good to verbalize it. And so I do that with Raven and Rain on a regular basis.
And there are times that we will sit there and go, okay, am I a duck or are we problem solving? Or are we bitching and adding to the fire?
Yeah, it's, if you're going to reach out to somebody like that, make sure that you're clear about what you need from them. Do you need them to listen to you bitch, or do you need them to come up with solutions? Because otherwise you're both going to get frustrated. Darn, I had to learn that as a married couple a long time ago.
And sometimes what you what you seek going into the conversation can change as the conversation develops. Like it might start as, I just need to vent. And then as you're talking through the problem and solutions are occurring to you, it can convert to, all right, so these are the options that I feel like I have. What are your thoughts on options A, B, or C? And then it goes from a bitch session to give me your input.
Yeah. So like what I feel like are my healthy coping strategies is I make art and I sing. And Dar let slip a couple years ago that he can tell what's going on with me by what I'm singing. And so he'll know whether or not to come hug me or back away slowly.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
I'm not a professional singer. I'm not a trained singer. I just love to sing. It calms me. It soothes me.
And I think one of the things about music, and that's one thing with me, is music. I get super crafty. I have a gazillion and 5 hobbies. And I'm trying to get into more, which is probably problematic for our wallet, but that's not the point. I'm going to use what I have right now, and then what Raven cleans out of her office that she doesn't want that I could potentially use. I probably need more shelves for my office.
Yes, you're going to need more shelves.
But doing artwork, cooking is a big one. Cooking and baking, and then music. But the thing with music is when I'm depressed, I don't listen to depressing music. I don't even listen to happy music. I listen to Let the Bodies Hit the Floor by Drowning Pool, or I Prevail, or some other random friggin' Evanescence.
Screaming because if I can't scream, someone else is going to scream for me.
Yeah. And
oh my God.
Maria Brink, oh yeah, she's definitely. Captain and I share that woman crush.
Hey, it is what it is. All right. Raven, did you go over your healthy coping skill?
Yeah, singing and crafting.
Singing and crafting. That's right. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. No, but there's another one, but I'm the only one that gets to do it with Dar, so you guys can't have it.
Sex.
That's fair.
Sex it can be healthy, and it can also be hazardous. Just it's kind of like the tattoo therapy, stab therapy. So you gotta make sure you have the healthy balance there with some of the bad ones, or quote unquote bad ones.
And it's not that I wasn't listening, Raven. I got derailed by a blooper that our listeners will not be made aware of until they hear this talking about it, but it'll be gone. Like it never happened.
We'll edit that in post.
I know we'll edit that in post.
So I know today has been a really heavy topic, and it may have been triggering for some of you, and I am sorry if that's the case. But again, we just wanted to come to you and share our stories and some of what we've been through, and maybe it'll help. And if you need a tribe and you don't have one, create an anonymous account and message us on mocmediatx.com. We're happy to listen and hear you and vent. And who knows? Maybe you'll get a surprise phone call from one of us. I can't guarantee that, but who knows? Who knows? What we're just here providing all sorts of services, y'all.
At the very least, we'll get a response.
You will get a response.
Message us.
It doesn't have to be anonymous if you don't want it to be anonymous. If you want to use a screen name, by all means, use a screen name. And please, always take internet safety precautions, especially on. Even though we are trying to make a safe space, our forums can be public. It's where you're gonna connect with other people. But please practice internet safety.
Absolutely.
Practice safe.
But As always, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for your continued support and feedback. Again, we do want to try to be incorporating listener comments into future episodes. So as always, you can reach us at Chaos Connections on your favorite social media app or on our website, mocmediatx.com, to leave comments and post on our forums and interact with not only us, your hosts, but other listeners. So thanks so much for joining us. Have a good night, day, week, what have you, and hope to catch you on the next one.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.